What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the weekly Aaron and Ted extravaganza. Ted from TED Talk Ball. You might know him as Ted H or Ted H6. Me and Ted are here for all your Niner needs. Before we get going, I just want to ask Ted how he's doing. How you doing, man?
Can't complain. It's a getaway Wednesday. Excited to take a little time off from the mean streets of the Twitter timeline and grinding. I've been lucky to have a lot of great guests on my shows. I've been having a blast. But at the same time, looking forward to a few days of just relax and unwind with the family. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, when I took a little time away from doing streaming, I missed it, but at the same time, I had to recalibrate and get that kind of motivation to do it again. And that's the best way to do it, is just like do your normal life stuff, and then it usually comes back to you. But interesting last couple of days. The Niners put on a freaking clinic there in Mexico. Before we get into what the Niners did, I just want to give props to Mexico City and the Mexican fans for a very hearty NFL welcome and a 49er welcome. They played a huge part in that game. I don't think people realize how much fans play into a game and just the emotional part of it. But those fans in Mexico, they're big 49er, fans. The Hispanic community in general, and I don't say this to offend, but the Hispanic community in general is very, the 49er community there's a lot of the Hispanic community in the 49er community. So we are super grateful that we got to go down there and got the reception that we did. And I hope we put on a show for them. I think this is the Niners' best performance so far this year. Granted, it came against a team that's really bad, but you only can play who's on your schedule, right? So before we get talking, I just want to say up to the chat real quick. We got Raphael 562, who was in here before the stream started. Thank you for coming through. I appreciate it. We got the old reliable here. Old reliable Brian Culp, always bringing the respect on here and on Twitter. So thank you very much. Tommy Huxley called us both dipsticks. Thank you. I hope you're having a great day too. He thinks the next game is a trap game. They're all trap games as far as I'm concerned. Cowboy Angel, new to the channel. I've seen you on a couple times on the channel, at least in here. I've seen you in other streams, so appreciate you coming through. And it's I needed the Niners to play like that. I was on the NWO stream after the game ended on Monday, and everyone's like, I haven't seen Aaron smile like this in a long time. What was your just overall mindset and your kind of takeaway from that game?
Yeah, I mean, when I wrote my preview article last week, that dropped on Thursday. I was worried about the Cardinals' weapons. I was worried about Colt or Kyler, whoever we faced. I wasn't like, oh, it's Colt McCoy, we're going to lose or anything like that. But he's good at getting the ball out quickly. So even though they were missing at least two of their linemen when I wrote the article were out, and two more didn't play. So they were missing 80% of their starting line for that game. It was their right guard, their center, their left guard, and their left tackle were all out. Other than their right tackle, it was all backups. I was worried about Hollywood. Well, he didn't suit up. I was worried about Rondale Moore. Well, I don't even think he got out of the first quarter before he got the groin pull. So then, they're missing a lot of guys. Byron Murphy Jr. on defense was out. They were, for the game. And then like Rashard Lawrence was out, I think, on our IR. And it really came down to, they just basically had an aging J.J. Watt on their defensive line and not much help for him there. They got two stud linebackers with Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins. Obviously, Budda Baker is a hell of a free safety, one of the best in my opinion. And then Marco Wilson on the other side of Byron Murphy, who was out. Marco Wilson is a real solid corner. But other than that, on their D, not a lot there. I think they were 19th in DVOA with those guys healthy, so even worse. And then they didn't train at the altitude like we did. There was a lot of talk during the week. Oh, was it worth it? Some of the players were saying it really tested I think Bosa was saying it tested their their ability to stay happy or to keep a positive attitude, I think were the exact words. And, I was sorry to hear that, but boy, I was really glad they did it when the game came around, because, in the second half, the Cards just fell apart.
I guess one thing I'll say is that if this is what the offense can potentially be, or something close to this, because you're never going to get this kind of output on a week-to-week basis. That was pretty awesome. I haven't seen an output like this offensively since the 90s. As far as just like every time they touched the ball, they scored a touchdown, or at least that's what it seemed like in the second half. It was awesome. Everybody got a taste of it or a piece of it. The only one who didn't really was Jawan Jennings. There was a lot of pieces of pie that were divvied around to a lot of the players. Tebow got the touches. Ayuk, he only had 2 receptions, and both of them were touchdowns.
Just Kittle like Chris Carter from the 80s.
All he does is catch touchdowns. Yep. Kittle got involved. Christian McCaffrey got involved. Elijah Mitchell got involved. It was nice to see what this offense could potentially be when they're firing on all cylinders. And it's weird. I was super positive, but the more I've kind of thought about it, I also have to kind of be a little bit realistic with the team that we played and kind of the condition of that whole state of that whole team right now. They're falling apart. They fired a running back coach because someone had to get fired after that game, right? So
apparently he did something Saturday night in Mexico City too. I don't know what that is.
What a train wreck.
Yeah.
So the Niners needed to do exactly what they did, and they stomped them as they should have. And so I think I was listening to Steph from 49K, Steph Sanchez. She says, you play who's on your schedule. That's all you can do. So it's nothing really more to say other than the Niners took a bad team and they whooped them. So if they're as good as we think they could be eventually, then they did exactly what they were supposed to do. So it's not like some extraordinary accomplishment. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie, it was awesome to see. And it turned the national attention to the 49ers all of a sudden as like, oh, maybe they could be a Super Bowl contender. So I think everybody needs to calm down a little bit, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you can't be happy and be totally stoked, but let's pump the brakes. We got some tests coming. We have the Bucs coming and the Dolphins in 2 of the next 4 games, and those are going to be stiff tests. If we can go in 4 games, if we can go 3-1 in the next 4, that'll be a win for me. I would love to go 4-0. Dolphins are really good. Tom Brady's still Tom Brady, even though he's really old. And the Redskins, excuse me. Sorry. The Commanders are playing really strong right now. So nothing's for sure. It's awesome that the Niners get mostly home games on this. So it's kind of how I feel. I'm kind of stoked, but at the same time, I'm like trying to reel back some of the ridiculousness that I'm seeing on social media. Like the 49ers just beat like the 85 Bears or something. It's like, dude, Cards are pretty bad. So relax.
Bad, injured, and unacclimated to the altitude is what I said in my article. The title of my article was, "Did the Niners find fool's gold in Mexico City?" Because, I think it's a great win. I'm super happy we beat the snot out of a team that we were supposed to beat. That's great. But we were supposed to beat them. And then once there are all those people out, we were supposed to beat them handily. And we did. It's great to see, because a lot of times you're supposed to and you don't. And so that's I'm happy to see that. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned Steph. I had her on my show on Friday. She was great, no doubt about it. And so thanks, Steph, for coming on if you're watching. But yeah, they're not the 85 Bears. They're not a great team, and they didn't have Kyler, and they didn't have Hollywood, and they didn't have Rondale Moore for most of the game, and that defense was okay coming coming into last week, and they lost so many players. I mean, in my preview article, there's just this long list of players that are out on IR, and then an even longer list of players that were questionable who didn't end up suiting up, other than mostly DeAndre Hopkins was about the only one who suited up out of those questionable players. So, yeah, I want to see us keep going. I'm not too worried about the Saints. Dolphins worry me. The Bucks worry me. The Commanders worry me. Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, a short week, worry me. So of those 4 games, and we're talking about 2 different 4-game stretches here, so I probably shouldn't mix it up like that. But ultimately, like I could see us. I'm still like on 11-6 or 10-7 for the season. It was great to see Jimmy throw 4 TDs, no interceptions. 3rd week in a row of no interceptions. Never done that before. Amazing, outstanding. To me, the bigger thing was 2 weeks in a row of no interception worthy passes where he didn't throw the ball to the defense at all against the Cards.
Right.
And he also didn't do that against the Chargers. So
right.
that to me is even more impressive because eventually, I've been saying all along, those defenses are going to start catching those. Well, not if you don't keep throwing them to them. So, yeah,
let's talk about Jimmy. We got to give him his due. He's been playing well recently. I am not a Jimmy guy.
Me neither.
Everybody knows that. But at the same time, I give props to if somebody deserves props, I'll give them to him. He's played really well. Mm-hmm. He's played really, really well. That game was as efficient as I've ever seen him play. Mm-hmm. The second effort play to Kittle for the first touchdown, I haven't seen that from him since 2017.
Yep.
Now, there's a lot of silliness going on Twitter where people were saying, if Jimmy wins the Super Bowl, do you keep him? Like I keep telling everybody, chill out.
I had a Rams fan ask me that today.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Listen, we went up against the Chiefs and got mollywopped, okay? And I don't want to hear all the different reasons why we lost. So let's play who was in front of us. Let's see how the season plays out. And we got to make the playoffs first. That's your first. Like everybody, I understand getting excited because you see the weapons, and then Jimmy's playing really well. Like you said, he hasn't had any turnover-worthy type of plays, but I want to see it continue.
Yeah,
it's been 3 games. Let's see 6 games, and if that's 9 games, including into the playoffs. So.
Or how about team that isn't missing at least one of their corners or both safeties, right?
Right. Yeah, but Jimmy's definitely played well. I'll tell you what, the one thing that I'm really excited about is the duo of Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell. What's your take on their usage right now? Like the usage of the 2 of them has been really interesting, but also like encouraging because Kyle's not running either of them into the ground like he has a tendency to do when he has somebody that's really good.
So yeah, I mean, I was really pleased. Was it against the Chargers where they both had almost 20 touches each? They had the same number of scrimmage yards. The big difference was that Christian had some big catches and Elijah was much more efficient running the ball. This week, it was a little bit different in that it was like we really started McCaffrey early on, got him in there to move the ball, score the points. And then once we had the lead, we brought in Eli to be the hammer and just pound him into submission. And that was really great to see. It reminds me a little bit of 2019 when we had Tevin Coleman kind of beat down the defenses and then Mostert to come in and run right by him. The big difference is that CMC is so much better than Tevin Coleman. I would say basically everything, certainly better at catching, definitely better at running. I think even a better blocker too. And Tevin Coleman's a very good blocker, but just better at everything. And then Mitchell isn't going to run by everybody the way Mostert did, but more importantly, he's going to pound them. He's picking up 8, 9, 10 yards a pop. And he's delivering a blow at the end, making them pay for tackling him. And that's how you're really going to beat teams is when you've got a lead and you can run the ball and run out that clock on them. It's something that we've never really seen in a Kyle Shanahan offense. We've had so many fast backs who would either get like 1 or 2 yards or they'd bust it long and they'd come up with these big yards per carry averages. but you really couldn't count on them to get those 3, 4, 5 yards of carry you need to grind out a game where you're running the ball 3 times in a row.
I just like the fact that they're being used as a duo, and not one guy getting a S load of carries and another guy getting 20 to 25. Like, I like the split. He almost was like the second half bulldozer once we started getting some points on the board. He was like the guy that, pounds the defense until they quit. The one thing I thought of immediately was the 49ers back in the 80s, where they used to pass to set up the run a little bit sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of almost reminded me, the Niners look really pass happy. I saw a Twitter question or an article that said, are the Niners going to become a more pass heavy team? I don't think so. I still think the run is what they do best. But it was interesting how much they were throwing early in this game and how like ridiculously efficient Jimmy was being. It was like, am I watching the right quarterback here? Because he hasn't. How come a linebacker hasn't gotten their hands on like a pass that was right to him yet? Like, what's going on here? So I have to like the game started kind of slow and I was a little frustrated. Mainly because I thought DeAndre Hopkins was just going to have like 20 catches the way he was going. And then all of a sudden, as usual, D'Amico pulls something out of his rear end, and all of a sudden the 49ers, just go on this huge run and score a bunch of points, and the Cardinals never really could respond. But the duo of the two of them is really great. I just hope both of them can stay healthy. As we know, they're have a propensity to get hurt. So that's kind of my biggest thing right now. I'm really, really excited, but I'm cautiously optimistic. And when I say cautiously, it's in like capital letters, like cautiously. I'm really cautious.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, I'm actually have wood in front of me right now, so I can do that. But Jordan Mason didn't look too bad in his couple carries. He reminds me of a little bit of a Marshawn Lynch, like a light version. The way he runs the ball.
He runs angry.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, that'll probably lead to a lot of injuries too. So
probably. He also got robbed of one carry when Brock Purdy turned the wrong direction.
Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. But that's why he is a third string quarterback. So
yeah. No doubt.
Couple people in the chat. Damian Lee, how you doing, man? He says, I can't wait till Jordan Mason catches on. I don't see him catching on much this year unless there's a significant injury, to be honest with you. He's going to be garbage time right now, unfortunately. The Niners, if they stay healthy, are pretty loaded, and that's just the way it works. It's good to have him, you're right, but I don't see him really catching much fire unless the Niners lock a playoff spot that they really honestly can't improve, and they have like a week to play. You might see him in like a week 18 or week 17 a roll or something like that.
Tell D. Lee that we miss him on the Warriors.
Damon Lee. Yeah. Yeah, we miss you on the Warriors, homie. Niner Gabe Woolcast is in here. Thank you very much. Frank Tom Ocean, what's up, G? He says if the 49ers get Jordan Mason rolling by the playoffs, man, yeah. I just don't see it, only because there's just you got two stalwarts in front of him right now. But I could be wrong. So hopefully I'm not wrong, because I don't want neither of those guys to get hurt. But
exactly, I'm with you. See. I think if they stay healthy, it'll be tough to get a lot of carries, other than blowouts like we saw on Monday night.
We haven't had one of those. Well, we had two with the Rams, but they weren't like blowouts immediately. This game was top of the fourth quarter. We scored that touchdown with Kittle. It was like, okay, time to pull people. That's
especially
the best time.
When those guys were making business decisions down by the goal line. I tweeted that. I said, Lucha George benefits from business.
Oh, they olayed the hell out of him. They were like, nah, we're good. We're not hitting you. That was beautiful, though. I'm not going to lie.
Don't hurt us. Don't hurt us.
I'm going to ask you this, and I think you're probably going to agree. Would you agree that Brandon Ayuk is wide receiver 1?
Yeah, I mean, yes. He runs better routes. He has better hands. I think Debo's playmaking, I think that offensive weapon, I think it translates to wide receiver as well, though. Even if he doesn't line up as a running back, I do think he has the potential to have better production than Brandon Ayuk. Let's put it that way. I don't know if that answers the question, but I mean, I think that, that 1,400 yards in 2021 was super impressive to me, especially when it was like 18.2 per catch. Yeah, he's not going to go deep as well. He's certainly not going to do that goal line, whip route like Ayuk did to get that TD, that first TD on Monday night. But
whoops, sorry.
I think, earthquake, not in New York. I think honestly, I'm going to say Debo is the better receiver, even though he doesn't have as good of hands and doesn't run as good of routes. What he does with the ball in his hand after the catch, it makes up for it, in my opinion.
I think Ayuk's the number one wide receiver, but I think Debo and CMC are playmakers and they can be used in multiple different ways. So I think both of them are more valuable than Ayuk. But if you're just going based strictly on wide receiver skill set, I think Ayuk to me kind of fills that number one role. The Niners are not a volume passing team, so he makes do with what he gets. But Christian McCaffrey and Debo, like that touchdown that Debo got on that end around, that was nasty. That was beautiful. Getting Trent Williams out there, getting Jake Brendel out there, Jake Brendel taking Budda Baker and squishing him to the turf. That was beautiful.
Always love to see that.
He pinned him. That was nice. I have been hating on Jake Brendel all season, and that right there, at least for that game.
Out of the doghouse?
He was out of the doghouse in my doghouse because he's played pretty dookie for a while. But Kittle had a big game. I tweeted something and I got a lot of flack because it was a question. I said, would you trade Kittle after the season? I said, comparatively, you look at Travis Kelce, and there's no doubt he's the best tight end in the NFL. I personally feel that way just because of the consistency and the amount that he does and how hard he is to guard, at least in Kansas City. And a lot of people were like, well, they throw the ball a lot. They got Patrick Mahomes, yada, yada, yada. And then I got people telling me after the game that tweet didn't age well. And I'm like, I didn't really crap on Kittle. I just said, would the Niners consider moving him? I didn't really say he sucks. I just said, would the Niners consider moving him after the season? Considering, if you compare the two, considering how he's kind of being used and, with the injuries and all that stuff, do you still see Kittle as a big part of this offense?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the talk of him, not being the same, I think we just haven't really seen it from him. I don't think we've seen him featured enough. I think having to help McGlinchey has really held him back. I think we saw some glimpses the last few weeks. We started to see it the last 3 games. We're starting to see a lot more production, more TDs from him. So I still think he's right in that conversation with Kelce. If he had Mahomes and Mahomes' line, protect him without McGlinchey. Well, it's not just that. It's not like their tackles are that great in Cincinnati. It's just that Mahomes is so elusive that even though he doesn't have as good a pass or doesn't have great pass blocking, he is able to create where Jimmy G gets nailed in the backfield. So yeah, I know I'm a huge Kittle fan. Also, the moving him would be almost impossible because of his massive dead cap. So just from a financial perspective, I wouldn't. But even let's just say it was financially favorable to do it, I wouldn't just. I mean, he's also my favorite player, so I got to admit I'm a little biased.
Right.
But I think that I'm pretty unbiased in general. So don't be surprised if you see him keep ripping off some more good stuff here to end the season and through the playoffs and on to and through the Super Bowl.
I'm totally for it. It's funny you put a question out there. Man, people have the vitriol is just like, wow. Like people are coming at me like you need to delete the tweet. I'm like, I didn't say it was bad. I just said, would you? Possibly, maybe. So it's okay though. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. And then Debo's been kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Do you see a resurgence coming, or is he quiet because there's just so many other mouths to feed? What do you think? There's a little bit of maybe him coming in a little fat this year and maybe starting slow because of his injury. And do you see him kind of having his normal Debo Samuel second half, or is somebody going to have to pay the price for all the weapons that we have?
There's a little bit of that, a lot of mouths to feed now for sure with CMC and Ayuk and Kittle all competing with him, even Juszczyk. But
We always forget
no,
about Jews too.
yeah, he was definitely a little out of shape from holding in to get his deal, and he deserved to get paid, and the Niners are you gotta really do what you can to get the top dollar. Parag's not about to go giving away money. So he did what he had to do to get paid. I think we could very well see something closer to that 2021 type production. We started to get a glimpse of it Monday night. Um, Provided that he doesn't pull his hamstring again before he gets back into shape. But otherwise, I expect to see him, progressively get a little bit better each week as he works himself back into shape. I think he will. And yeah, I think we won't see that huge production overall, but we could see that same production per play.
It's funny. I was watching a Twitter video of Tyler Lockett catching passes and then just laying down on the ground, avoiding hits. And people were saying, man, he's soft, but he stays healthy. He's soft, but he's effective. I don't want the 49ers guys to be that way where they just give up and lay down on the ground. But man, I think about all the injuries that this team has and the way some of these guys they play. It's just, bro, go down.
Especially towards the end of the game there, right?
Yeah, why? I understand you can't change the way people play, and to do that would be to kind of neuter them, so to speak. But man, for a team that's always hurt, I hate seeing where a guy's running and then somebody comes in, an offensive line pushes behind to get him going. And all I'm thinking is someone's going to get rolled up and they're going to blow their knee out or they're going to break an ankle. And I'm just but I mean, that's just the way that they play. It's funny. The Niners bully teams, but they also hurt themselves too. I mean, my brother was sitting watching part of the game. He's like, that's just the way you guys are. He goes, unfortunately, it takes a toll on the defense and the physicality, but it also takes the toll on your own players. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You wouldn't want them to stop with the physicality because it's a part of their MO, but it is why they are one of the most injured teams all the time. And it's tough. Like you said, you're up in a game, you're up 24 points. Go down, dude. Walk out of bounds. Enough with I hate it, but it's never going to change. So I guess I just need to relax, but I don't know.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I made it a positive tweet, but I said Debo's beasting, and that you could tell that was that point in the game where he got a couple extra yards, but he took about 4 extra hits to get it. And there's just no point at that point in the game of doing it. So yeah. And then I think you can also see it. I saw on a Brian Baldinger video today. He was talking about our linebackers and how they just fly around. I think he called it a hit party or something like that. And how Fred's just flying around, crashing into people, hitting the other team, hitting Jimmy Ward. And I remember before this game, where he hit Jimmy Ward, there were a couple games where he hit Bosa too. And, just anybody who's standing around the pile is likely to be collateral damage when Fred comes flying through there. So yeah, we hurt them, we hurt us by playing that way. Maybe that's part of the explanation for why there's so many damn injuries on this team is we're bullies. We're bully ball.
I was pleasantly surprised as we transition kind of more into the offensive line. This offensive line gave up no sacks, and I think during that game they averaged almost 6 yards a carry. It was 5.7, I think. What do you say about one of the biggest question marks that we've had playing so well, at least the last couple of games, especially against JJ Watt and company? There were times where Jimmy didn't get touched in that game. And with me, I'm always waiting for Jimmy to, pitter patter in the pocket and get hit that when he doesn't need to be. But man, they played really well. What'd you think of the offensive line and how they've been playing lately? Especially guys like Aaron Banks, who still hasn't given up a pressure or a sack or one of those two.
No, they were saying that PFF hasn't credited Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Brendel, or Burford with a sack yet this season.
That's
Now,
insane.
part of that is that they gave up a sack, but Jimmy was back there for so long that it's not considered on the offensive lineman at that part. So keep that in mind. Like, it's not like all those guys didn't give up a sack. It's just after a certain amount of time, it's not your fault anymore as an offensive lineman. You're not expected to carry a block that long.
It's kind of like when an assist in basketball. Eventually, if you throw the ball to the guy in the post and he does like 7 post moves, you're not getting an assist on the play. Like it's kind of a one pivot, shoot it, assist. So eventually the offensive line needs to get let off the hook.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more pleased with Aaron Banks. I was definitely one of the ones last season saying, "Cool your jets, all you bust people." You can't evaluate. Draft picks should get at least 2 years before you call them a bust. Let alone 1 year where you got injured in that, the first preseason game against the Chiefs, and then he was out until almost the beginning of the season. So then he's coming back to practice, but he's a backup, so he's getting like roughly 5% of the snaps. Really hard to work your way back into a starting role that way. And then especially when he's a left guard all through college at Notre Dame, and now we're asking him to play right guard. And like some guys, can make that switch, and it takes some time. Some guys can just do it quickly, which is crazy. That's very exceptional and unusual. And some guys just can't make the switch ever. And we don't really know what Aaron Banks was, but we he couldn't do it, within the space of one season there to get in at right guard for us. So really happy to see him. I mean, he and Trent Williams are now this crazy force out there on the left side. You saw how many of the runs that Debo sweep or reverse, pardon me, and how many of the runs went that way. I think Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell each ran to that side too, the outside zone over there behind those two, just pile movers. So that's really exciting. Brendel, he's been a little bit of a more of a mixed bag, where he's been pretty good in pass blocking, I'll say. I haven't seen many sacks come straight up the middle, if any, and that's really important. That they always say a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points. That's also the quickest way to the QB is through the center. So I'm glad he's holding up there well, even if other than that big play to Debo last night, he hasn't been so great in run blocking. And then Burford, real nice surprise, 5th round draft pick out of UTSA. And he's been a huge surprise to me. I mean, the fact that he was named a starter in OTAs, he played really well. I still head scratching onto why we're alternating with Brunskill, other than obviously versus the Rams, where Brunskill is Aaron Donald's dad. I just feel like he's I guess the thought is he's learning enough and he's still growing. He's getting enough reps to learn, and he's getting into that game shape, which a lot of times will take a year or two for rookies to kind of shed that, I would say, baby fat, more like college fat, to get their NFL body. So it seems like maybe he's progressing that way, and it's not hurting his progression much. At the same time, they're getting him out before he gets tired, kind of like the running backs, not making him play too many snaps, and keeping Brunskill in game shape, because he can be plugged in anywhere on the line. He's that ultimate 6th man on the O-line that can play all 5 positions. And then don't ask me about McGlinchey. He did have a nice game against the Cards, but I think that, when I said, did the Niners find fool's gold, he's definitely one of the ones that I don't expect to keep playing well.
Yeah, it's an anomaly for me. Just want to say hi real quick to Mariah from 49er Faithfully. Hello, my lady. How are you? I know that was really awkward, but I just thought I'd say hi. What was I going to say?
Reminds me of The Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. Yes, that's a great movie, by the way. As you wish. And then she finds out it's Wesley, of course. And then Andre the Giant was in that movie, which is awesome. What was I going to say? Yeah, the offensive line, and I'll be the first to admit, I never said he was a bust to Aaron Banks. I said that maybe it was going to take him a year to get acclimated to the NFL and get an NFL body. Because you got to understand, like, guys come out of college and then they come to the NFL. It's a different game, man. Especially on the defensive line, especially if you're going against a defensive line like ours and you're a rookie guard. Good luck, It takes time. Everything takes time. And I think as fans, including myself, some of us are a little bit impatient. Now, there's the difference when it's someone like an AJ Jenkins or what's his name? Who's the guy that we drafted that likes cats? I used to forgot.
Oh, Dante Pettis.
Yeah, there's certain players where you're like, dude, cut the cord, man. But with the offensive line, it's a different situation. And I remember with the 80s 49ers, I don't know if you remember, but they used to alternate Steve Wallace and Bubba Paris at tackle.
Absolutely.
And they also used to do it with one of their guards too. I forget if it was like I don't know if it's Guy McIntyre or somebody else. They did it in the Super Bowl against the Broncos. Like Wallace played and then Bubba played, and it was like an alternate. It's almost like you got two good players and you want to get them both reps. So you split them, essentially. It's like you can't do it at quarterback. You can't do it at certain positions, but because of, just you can't get a feel. But yeah, I mean, whatever. It's always good because then if somebody goes down, you got a guy that can go full bore at that one position. But then, I think Brunskill could play center if he had to. Personally, I don't know how good he'd be, but
he did in 2020. It wasn't great, but I bet he's gotten a little bit better over time.
Niners. The one thing I'll say about the Niners, and a lot of people, including myself, sometimes get mad when the Niners don't make the big splash, is the Niners are depth. Their depth is their strength. Some teams are really top heavy, like the Rams, and they're kind of experiencing it this year. Losing guys. Yeah. You have Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, and they're super, super good. But you can only go so long with having like the top at like 3 or 4 positions and having everybody else be essentially a backup. It just doesn't.
Level, yeah,
it's replacement level talent. Now, I don't cover the Rams. I did a stream with Peo Time, Zach, and he kind of told me and then kind of got me into to change my thinking that because we don't follow the Rams on a daily basis. So that'd be saying someone could say Azeez Al-Shaair isn't that good, but any 49er fan who watches games all the time knows he is. So there's players on the Rams that are a lot better than we may think. We just don't watch, as far as where they were drafted because they draft so late. But as a whole, I as much as I like making big time moves and getting big time players that maybe can give you a Super Bowl. We did it this year with Christian McCaffrey, but he's not a 1-year rental. He's going to be here for a while. So
through the end of the 2025 season. Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Man, if they can, him and Elijah Mitchell or whoever the running back eventually, because how running backs are. They come and go so fast, but I like the way the Niners do things. I just, between the offense and the defense, I hope they can keep it going, man. Hope everybody can stay healthy. Health is the ultimate opponent to this team more than anybody they play is its health. This team can stay healthy because when you're healthy, you play all the time. You get camaraderie, you get chemistry. Chemistry's real. Chemistry's real in sports, just like momentum is real in sports. Those two things, I don't think people realize how important momentum is and how important chemistry is with guys playing. Like the Niners essentially have had pretty much the same offensive line all year. They're playing a lot better. Why? Because they play together all the time. They know each other's flaws. They know each other's strengths. They know it's just a communication thing. Like, for instance, you get a new center and he hasn't played in a while. The center is as important to an offensive line as the quarterback. And if they don't have a symbionts, they can have some serious problems because the offensive line and the quarterback, they're supposed to call out everything, right? So I'm glad the Niners, as much as it's not sexy names on the offensive line other than Trent Williams. It's nice to see the camaraderie and the chemistry. So hopefully they can keep it going. I still think they need to make an upgrade at right tackle going into the offseason. And I still think they need to make a move at shoring up center. I just don't think Brendel's the answer, but there's only so many holes you can fill. So, but we'll see.
Especially without a first-round draft pick.
Right, but let's not talk about the offseason right now.
Or a second-round draft pick. Or a third-round draft pick. We have a couple third comps.
We have a couple. We have a lot of thirds. I think we have 4
they're third
thirds.
comps, but that's after the third round is over. You get those 3 third. I mean, granted, our third would have been hopefully at the very end of the round anyway, right? But
Right. Well, I mean, how many needs do the 49ers really have right now?
center, right tackle, defensive tackle, cornerback. Maybe safety if do we let Jimmy Ward go, which seems likely.
No, I think Tyshawn Gibson's been fine.
Yeah, but how old is he?
Yeah, you're right. But Ward isn't young. He ain't a young. He
No, that's
he's
why
not,
we're going to let him go. I mean, it's not
true.
It's not because of lack of play. It's,
True.
and injuries, right? I mean, here he is. He missed half the season already. So
right. Yeah, you're right. But it's. I mean, if they can somehow in the draft, the way I look at it is this: if they can somehow, sometimes in free you go in free agency and maybe you won't draft as many players this year. Maybe you say like, okay, we don't have this many picks. Sometimes you gotta go and take care of it in free agency. Maybe the Niners make a free agent center a priority this offseason. So that's one less guy you have to make sure you hit on in the draft. So to me, if the Niners are smart, if there's a center or some sort of journeyman who can do center guard on the market, free agency, plug them in, and then as far as right tackle, I don't know if you can really address
like a Corey Linsley type when he went from Green Bay to the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't know what you could do at right tackle though, Ted. Like they don't grow on trees, and we are spending a hell of a lot of money on a lot of other players, including Trent Williams. So you hope maybe Spencer Burford. I heard that he could play tackle. I don't know if that's.
And then what? Jalen Moore at guard, or
I don't know.
Seems like they've played him pretty much at tackle though. So
Jalen Moore, to me, I've seen him he played in replacement for Trent. That was just wow. That was bad.
Yeah, in Denver it was.
He
was okay at the end of the Rams game because McKivitz sprained his MCL during the Rams game, and at least I know he didn't give up a sack because they didn't get any sacks in.
I'd rather have McKivitz play left tackle than Jalen Moore any day of the week.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too. No. I just mean maybe as a right guard or you think it'll just be Brunskill, but Brunskill's a free agent too, though. In 2023.
A couple of new people I haven't seen in here before. Chop Suey. He says, I'm blocked from Ramilia podcast, and I don't know why. They're just in their feelings right now because they're having a poopy season because they got their Super Bowl and now they're falling apart because they don't have any depth on their team. And they're, that's what happens when you sell out to get a Super Bowl. They got the win. Props to them. But long-term roster building, they're going to be in trouble. I heard a report that once certain players retire, their coach is out of there.
Oh yeah, I've been telling them that since March. Jesus.
So I mean, a lot. I understand because I kind of was like that. Niners need to go all in on a Super Bowl. That only happens if you know for sure the guy you're coming in is going to put you over the top, right? There's not anybody really out there right now. I mean, like Tom Brady, I love him to death, but I just don't think Tom Brady's gonna. 2 years ago, yes. Maybe even last year. I don't know. I don't know where his head's at, and I don't know physically if he can. I don't know. Unless there's that guy for sure is gonna win you that championship. You got to stay pat with what you got and figure out a way to do it with the players that you have. But we'll see. The Rams did it differently. They got their championship, and now they're going to pay the price. So, then think about it. Aaron Donald ain't young. Jalen Ramsey's getting older. Cooper Kupp's literally their whole offense. If he doesn't get the ball, they're pretty much not scoring.
Now he's out for 6 to 8 weeks, so
right.
that means he won't be back.
They're done. They're toast.
Yeah.
They're toast.
Stafford had 2 concussions in 2 weeks in a row. I mean, that's real bad.
They got their championship though, so props to them. But now they're gonna be, dude. If he leaves that coach and they they could go be in basement dwellers real fast. So, but like I said, props to them. They did well. They got the Super Bowl. We haven't had one in almost 30 years, so can't really say much.
Yeah, but we've been to 5 NFC Championship games and 2 Super Bowls in the last 11 seasons.
True.
So I mean, I know we came up short, and it sucks to lose a Super Bowl or get to the NFC Championship and not get to the Super Bowl. But it makes you a contender, and players want to play for contenders. And so for fans, it's heartbreaking, but for the front office, it lends credibility and it helps us not be desperate, because that's what we were in 2019 when we signed that deal with D Ford. We were desperate. We gave him that damn injury clause, and we're still paying for it this year, and we're going to be paying for it next year too. I think $6 or $7 million each year. So now we can make deals that are team friendly, and people want to play for us because in the last 3 years, we've been to 2 NFC championships and a Super Bowl under Kyle. And so, yeah, it's heartbreaking as a fan to not get all the way, but I'm not one of those, if you don't win a Super Bowl, the season doesn't count either type people. I think it's important to make the playoffs, and like top teams don't tank. Tanking, winning is not a light switch. It's not something that you can just turn off and then turn back on. A lot of times when you turn it off, you go to flip the switch back on and the lights don't come back on. The winning doesn't come back. The locker room is used to losing, and they've got, and not only that, but a lot of the veterans that you had when you started tanking, they don't stick around for that new draft pick to mature. They're gone. So by the time that draft pick is ready to really start contributing, most of that core is gone. So I'm not a big fan of tanking.
Just like winning is contagious, losing is contagious.
Absolutely.
And you got people that just play to get paid. And people could say, well, that's not true. They all want to win. Not really. Just look at the NBA. Yeah. Look at the NBA. Look how many huge guarantee contracts for guys that are, seventh men who, it's just because you play a sport doesn't mean necessarily you love it and you want to do it and be the greatest. That's why there only is so many Peyton Mannings and Tom Brady's and Joe Montanas and Jerry Rice. Like Jerry Rice was obsessed with winning. Obsessed. He went up to Michael Irvin at a Pro Bowl after the Niners lost to the Cowboys one year, and he's like, I'm already working out. Like he was, it's very rare nowadays do you get a guy who's super motivated and super rich.
Well, and that's a good point. If you don't mind me circling back to Deebo Samuel, there is, just that ever so slight, worry that maybe he got the bag and maybe he just won't ever be back to 2021. Not because he physically can't, not because of the extra weight, but just because of that sort of exactly what we're just talking about, that killer instinct, got to win. I think we started to see it on Monday night. So already I'm feeling better about it. But, in a few of the shows I've had recently, it came up, and I had to bring it up as a possibility because it happens a lot. I think a lot of Niners aren't those types of players to do that, but it's always a worry when you hand someone the bag that they're like, cha-ching, I'm out, or well, not out, but I'm checked out, right? Like I'm there, but I'm not all there anymore.
Yeah, there is certain athletes, even rookies, like when the NFL used to give quarterbacks like all this money just to come into the league. One huge example is Jamarcus Russell.
Absolutely.
Fat, unmotivated, didn't care. Didn't care. He got paid. Guaranteed money. Why care? And he was really talented, especially in high school and in college. Dude was stupid good. And got
LSU, right?
Huh? LSU, yep.
Yeah.
I don't know, when they drafted him and he was, I hate to say that you ever just vibe on somebody and you're like, this dude's going to flop. Like he's just not going to be good. I got that vibe from him right away when he was drafted, and I was right. I hate being right.
No, sorry, I keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I got that vibe. I'll tell you, someone was in the news this week, Zach Wilson. Everybody's like, oh, Zach Wilson's so great. Zach Wilson's so great. And I had Fields 1A, Lance 1B, Trevor Lawrence 3, and Zach 4, and Mac 5. And, I might have got that wrong. Mac might seem like he's the better QB. Again, you got to give him 2-3 years. I'm shocked that the Jets benched him so soon. I think that was a big mistake. I think you got to give him more time to figure out what he's got. It's too bad for him that they're contending and they need to win now. And doesn't seem like he's ready to do it. But I had concerns about him. A lot of people did, about him being sort of like, the spoiled rich kid, or at least had rich friends or whatever. That was one concern, was his attitude. A second concern I had about him was the BYU offensive line was just dominant. They were like, I think ranked number 2 in the NCAA for best offensive line.
He's really fragile too.
Yeah, and injuries. Those are my
Really
three
small.
concerns. And the competition that they played the year that he showed out was not very good. Like most of the teams didn't have good defenses, or especially not good D lines. The one team they played that had a good D line, Coastal Carolina, beat them. So yeah, those are my concerns about. That's why I wasn't wild about Zach Wilson when a lot of Niners Twitter was. I was a Fields guy, but Lance was a very close second for me.
Got to say, this is a pretty cool name. Like it, Purple Venom. Thank you for showing up. You seem new to the stream, so thank you for being here. Same thing with Chop Suey. Where are you? I said hi before, but thank you again for all you guys coming in here tonight. I'm trying to think here. I felt like I was going to say something and I just forgot.
I hate when that happens.
It's my brain is a little fried today.
Character issues. Well, as long as we're talking about character issues or not, things like that. Like you mentioned splash moves. The Eagles made, I wouldn't call them big splashes, but they signed a couple defensive tackles that probably could have helped the Niners, Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. And I think we talked some about Suh. And I think at least on your show, another show said that I think, I had concerns, character issues. I thought the Niners front office would too, but turns out we were jilted at the altar there, it sounds like, where he came down to us and them, and he chose the Eagles. So I guess the Niners brass thought that those issues, maybe were far enough in the past or not that egregious that they were willing to overlook them to get us into that contention. It also might be a sign that Eric Armstead or Kinlaw aren't coming back as soon as we were hoping.
Yeah, I wish I would. At least one of them would come back, like Armstead. Purple Venom.
I still think Armstead will pretty soon.
I hope so.
But he
too.
didn't practice today, so.
Purple Venom. I remember you now. You are Venom. So thank you for the reminder. But it's still a pretty sweet name. So, Bosa comes off like somebody who's not motivated, but he's super motivated. It's just he's got a very California chill, like he's very low key, at least when he's talking in the media, but he plays like a monster. So it's weird. Yeah. He's like two different people. He's like Bruce Banner and the Hulk. Bruce Banner is like this wimpy, nerdy weirdo, and then the Hulk is a brute. So that's kind of what I get from him. He's another guy. I just hope he stays healthy because he needs some help, man. People need to come back. Like Amenahu's playing really well. A lot of other players were stepping up. Who was the defense? I always forget the defensive tackle. He had the sack.
Givens.
Kevin Givens. Wow,
what a sack he had,
dude.
And a TFL.
He hurt him.
Oh yeah.
When he got hit, if you watch Colt McCoy get up after Kevin Givens hit him, that hurt.
And I love that he hit him, knocked him to the ground, and didn't fall on the ground, let alone fall on him. So there was like zero chance of any kind of roughing penalty. Hit him in the chest and threw him to the ground and didn't fall on him or even near him. Didn't fall on the ground at all. That's a rare thing you see with a sack like that.
Right. I saw during the game, Dre Greenlaw almost get himself in trouble again on a couple hits. I'm like, bro, come on now, dog. I love you to death because you're a beast and you want to hurt people, but bro, play's over. Stop scraping people off the top. Yeah. He just can't help himself. But if I was a professional football player who was really talented, I would play like him. Like my whole point, if I'm a linebacker, is to smack you. I have a young friend. Well, not a friend. He's a coworker. He's in his early 20s. I think he plays like a semi-college or maybe he's in high school. I don't know. Anyways, he plays running back and linebacker. This kid he reminds me of Christian McCaffrey. He's about the same build. He loves hitting. He was showing me highlights at work of him playing running back, and he's just trucking over people. I'm just like, damn.
Nice.
So some people it's in their DNA. It's a physical sport, and they like to be physical, and I'm totally okay with that. I mean, you could be the Cardinals players who just made business decisions and didn't want to tackle. So,
well, how about that? That hit on Colt McCoy by Dre Greenlaw, where Colt dove head first, and Dre kind of went to a knee, and Colt just kind of rolled up against him And then all of a sudden he like flung himself back and he, like flung his head back like the full on soccer flop. I was like,
He did a soccer flop on the Bosa hit too, the roughing the
did.
passer.
He did. There should be a penalty for that, man. That
Like
is such
Bosa hit
bullshit.
him, but come on, dude. It looked like
BS.
he hurt himself with his acting. Like he looked like he gave himself whiplash.
Yeah, I mean,
because like he throws himself down after Bosa supposedly shoulder checked him. I'm like, bro, come on.
I tweeted out like that was a flop worthy of the World Cup. I mean,
right? That's like a LeBron
this is
James
football,
worthy
not
flop.
Soccer, sucker. I mean, geez, man up, man. And even Troy Aikman, he's like, oh, it's weird how his head just whipped back like that. Like, I wonder what happened. Playing dumb, but you knew what he meant. He's like, Colton.
Not everybody can be Steve Young.
A P word, let's say. Yeah.
Oh, totally a P word. Steve, remember Steve Young in the playoff against the year we won the Super Bowl in 95, 94? He got hit late in the end zone by the Bears.
Yeah.
And everybody came to his defense. Steve Young took some nasty shots as a player. He was a tough guy. So did Brent Jones. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Brent Jones used to take a licking.
One of my favorites for sure.
Oh, totally one of my favorites. I love Brent Jones. He's really goofy.
He's also a Santa Clara University alum like myself. So
nice. That's awesome.
To Brent Jones there. Yeah.
Randy Daytona says, I definitely don't want to paralyze someone. It's football though, so it's a risk. Exactly.
Yeah, it is.
That's the risk you when you play football. Same thing if you're like a professional wrestler for WW whatever. Those guys, it might be scripted, but those guys take a freaking fit. I mean, look at Hulk Hogan. He can barely move now. A lot of these guys are half cripple. But that's what they sign up for. The people that really love the sport know that there's a chance and a possibility that when they're in their 60s and 70s, they're going to be using a walker or, they have to get multiple knees and a hip replaced. That's just, when you love something that much, you kind of know the risk and you deal with it. And you're right. I would never want to paralyze somebody if I was a defender. But if I had a clean shot on somebody, like, putting a shoulder to somebody and knocking the ball out, that's what you get paid to do. So it is what it is. Real quickly, because it's almost an hour. I'm sure you have stuff to do.
I got a few minutes for you. So, I mean, but I know you need to eat too. So
49ers defense, three straight second half shutouts. But I think personally, they're still not the level they were early in the season without Mosley. They're good, but the Niners to me right now are more of a bend, don't break. They kind of can hit hard and hit you with the sack, but then they could also give up. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like that Dorsch guy killed us.
Dorsch torched us.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand why guys stop on offsides penalties. Like play through the play.
Yeah.
Especially if you're the team that goes offsides.
Yeah.
It seemed like everybody just stood still and he just ran past everyone. Mm-hmm. So like to me, the Niners, I'm glad that they have the 3 shutouts in the second half, but I'm still like, I'm glad the offense is becoming aggressive and hopefully can score a lot of points because it's just not feasible with the players that they've lost, especially in the secondary with the loss of Mosley. The Niners, I mean, they have really good linebackers and they're all healthy right now, but the D line's been kind of down and you got your other corner has been down. I just think that, everybody's making a big deal out of them being really good and stuff, but I still think that the Niners have a long way to go to kind of return to what they were even in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not just Mosley. It's Mosley, and as we talked about, Eric Armstead, Kinlaw. Those are 3, not just players. Those are stars, and I would even say Mosley was kind of on track to being a superstar, like I feel like Mooney Ward is now, and I think Eric Armstead is a superstar. I think now that he's been out, we can say like we really missed that guy. Like there was a lot of talk. Is he good? DeForest Buckner, this, Kinlaw, that, whatever. It's been pretty clear that we miss him not only in the run game where he is one of the best run stuffing defensive tackles, but in the pass rush too. He still eats double teams there, and he frees up our edge players to make more sacks. So, and he's got those long arms to deflect passes too. So all those things. And even when we were number 1 this season in defense, I said like, hey guys, I was tweeting out like this is we're overrated.
A little bit of fool's gold right now.
Yeah, we've been playing bad QBs with bad offensive lines. Like, let's wait till there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL, at least on one side of the ball, if not both. And so,
like, the Bears have no wide receivers.
Right, exactly. No, especially back then. I think they picked somebody. They got what's his name, from Claypool from the Steelers. But before that, yeah, it was Mooney, Darnell Mooney was pretty much it. And I guess Komet is okay as a tight end, but he's no, he's not a top tight end by any stretch. So yeah, no weapons, and they also had no O-line too. Is really important for a quarterback to have. So Justin Fields has been given a raw deal by them since the get-go. I'd like to see him. I still believe in him. I hope he comes through.
I think he's good, but I think I tweeted it. I'm sure you saw it. He reminds me a lot of Russ. You never see Russell. Yeah. You never
on
see.
Schedule.
He never makes on-schedule throws. Everything is playground spinning, running, spinning. Oh, a guy's been open. A guy's been running a route for 15 seconds. Okay, here you go. Like, that's why. And a lot of people think the same thing. They call him a running back. Like, he does have a talented arm, and he could make a lot of.
He's accurate. Yeah.
But
can he identify the right guy to throw to at the right time?
Because you notice if a team can keep him in the pocket, he'll throw some silly interceptions. So very talented. I mean, he's ahead of Lance right now. You can say that.
No, you know what?
Lance hasn't played.
Aaron, I tweeted that out, and I tweeted it out before the draft. I said that Justin Fields reminds me of a taller, faster Russ Wilson. I'll see if I can dig it up. And I'll
share it,
retweet it or something.
That's what I get when I watch him. I get like a bigger Russell.
Yeah.
If you look at Russell Wilson right now, him behind center, not being able to run around and freelance, it's not the same player.
And you know what? F Russell Wilson, because all these years we rooted against him as a Seahawk. He couldn't win. We couldn't beat him. He couldn't keep them from being a winning team. And then it's like he goes to the Denver Broncos. They hand all their picks to the Seahawks. We're like, okay, Russell, now win, so they don't get a top 5 freaking pick, Russell. And he can't do it. I mean, it's just pathetic. I just hate him even more now.
And the Seahawks have some good players that came out of. They got some defenders. I mean, we'll see when the Niners play them. But Seahawks,
they got Tariq Woolen.
They have some good. The Seahawks are.
Oh, you mean the ones they got? They also got. No, he was just a draft pick, and he was like a 5th rounder, so that had nothing to do with the Denver. But you're talking about the defensive end they got.
They got a couple players. I think there's a couple of their corners are pretty good.
They got Noah Fant, their tight end.
They got Noah Fant too.
So now they have 3 tight ends who can block and catch. They got Disley, who they've had. They got Colby Parkinson, who they drafted, who's finally starting to ascend. And they got Noah Fant. And none of them are like world beaters, but they're all solid, and they can all catch and block, which is, what more do you want to ask from not superstar tight ends?
Right.
But then they drafted Tariq Woolen, and he is like, they're saying like a fast Sherm. So like, imagine Richard Sherman if he had blazing 4.2 speed. That's what they're saying.
That's ridiculous. That would be really, really good.
Yeah, no, it is. And then the other guy's name is like Dancy or Delancey or Chancey. Can't think of his name, but whatever. Defensive end, basically, or edge player.
Right. Frank Tom Ocean, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. He says, "Happy Thanksgiving, brother. I got to bounce." Thank you very much for coming through. I guess, where are we going here? One thing I'll say, as far as the defense goes, like I said, I think they need to get better, and they're good, but they still have room to improve. And like I said, I'm glad the offense has kind of elevated. Hopefully they can kind of help them out so they don't have to have a 10-point game that they shut out in the second half every single game. Because
the Rams, let's say this, the Rams only had Cup. The Chargers didn't have their wide receivers 1 through 3. And then the Cards were missing Hollywood Brown, and then they lost Rondale Moore early.
Right.
So
we've gotten lucky.
They've all had an arm tied behind their back, if you will.
Right.
against our D. It's going to make our defense look better than it is.
Clancy Wiggum, is that the guy you're talking about?
No, it's jalopy. No, that's brisket.
Jalopy.
I call.
They love your 96 Steve Young jersey, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, 50-year anniversary. It's a classic. I bought it after the Super Bowl, thinking we'd win a bunch more. Oh, what else?
What about Womack?
What do you think about Womack? I think he just needs to tackle better, play the run better. I think he's a better cover guy than Jimmy Ward, especially against a fast wide receiver.
He's always around the ball.
Yeah, but
he's got a nose for the ball.
I just think that in our defense, it's run stuff first. And so, I think he's going to have trouble finding the field until he can do that. That's the primary. I think that's why Lenore beat him out, and that's why we see Jimmy Ward on the field at the nickel instead of Womack, who I do believe in. I was there at the Green Bay preseason game when he had 2 interceptions against the Packers. And one, he wrestled Romeo Dobbs as they were going to the ground. He wrestled the ball away from a much bigger, stronger receiver, or at least assumably stronger receiver. And then the other one, he kind of ran the route for the guy on a slant, and they had a big interception in return. So I'm a big believer in Sammy Woe. I think we'll see him at some point. But, it's that rookie thing too. Kyle hates rookies. So, as much as possible, he's going to try and let him, or he loves him, I guess is a better way to look at it. He loves him so much that he doesn't want to expose him to getting cooked. He wants him to redshirt as much as possible to avoid, getting them injured or having them injure their confidence, if you will.
Purple Venom says, and the 49ers the most dangerous team in the NFL. Who agrees? I think they're very dangerous right now, but we got to kind of pump the brakes. Let's play a little bit better competition. But offensively, if they keep playing this way, Venom, I think they are very dangerous.
Okay, I said Chancey Dancy, Shelby Harris. That's
Shelby Harris. Yeah, the Clancy Wiggum is the chief of police from The Simpsons. I don't know how I didn't pick up on that. I thought Lenore played really well too.
Yeah,
I thought he played really well.
He played pretty well against the Chargers. He just had the one DPI, but he was pretty good.
He's getting better. And I can't say the same about Ambry Thomas. I'm glad he never makes. He's really bad, but he's never on the field. So hopefully the Niners don't get to a point where they need to put Ambry Thomas on the field. I wish they would actually make a move for someone like a corner on the market, say like an Abuye or someone, just as an insurance policy. The fact that they don't have something like that on their roster and that they're one injury away from probably having Ambry Thomas on the field, along with, unless they put Womack on the outside. I
think that's what it would be.
It's a little concerning for me, but hey, what are you going to do? You can't have everybody, but that would be my personal choice. Someone like him. I don't know. There's other players out there, but good show. My last topic just says the 49ers control their own destiny, but I think we kind of hit on that. The Niners have the next 4 to 5 games. They play against some decent teams. Most of those games are at home. I think in the next 4 games, the Niners play the Saints, the Dolphins,
the Bucks, and then at the Seahawks
and the Bucks and at the Seahawks. I want the Niners. If the Niners can go 3-1 in that game, I'll be really happy. 2-2 seems more likely, but that would actually kind of suck if they went that. So I'm hoping for 3-1. Listen, if the offense comes out, they come out against the Saints and play that way, that'll be nice. It'll give me a lot of hope. But we'll see.
Against a much better, much healthier defense. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Brian Culp, thank you very much. He says, great show. Yeah, right now we're the number 3 seed. Just got to keep winning, man. And win our divisional games. Win your divisional games. Sweep that division. Let's see. We need 2 more games. That'll give us 8 wins, and then it's just you kind of win your division, and then you kind of go 500 sometimes against tough competition. You know what I mean? And then you pretty much give yourself a 10-11 win year. So that should get us into the playoffs. But we'll see. I mean, it's Still a lot of season left, guys. A lot of season. Thank you very much, Raphael, for the $2 super. He says, great show, gentlemen. Purple Venom says, respect you, man. Keep up the good work on your channel. You have made a lot since the last time we've talked, because I know I've been watching you. We were at 2.5K subs. Thank you. Thank you. It's funny. I get a lot more on my smaller videos or my voiceover videos than I actually do on my live streams. So when I made I took a little bit of a sabbatical off of YouTube. I actually lost about 25 livers that used to watch. So it's been a tough road to get them back, but hopefully eventually they'll come back. But for those of you who are actually in the chat supporting me and Ted every Wednesday, we do appreciate that. And do me a favor.
Thank you.
Go to Ted Talks Ball. I want to see more people watching his streams. Ted's really good. He has had some really good guests on recently. I'm trying to think who was on with him. You had
Larry Krueger.
You had Larry Krueger on your channel. I love Larry. He actually messaged me out of the blue and asked me how I was doing, and then followed me. So yeah, I'm trying to. You know what I'm doing? I'm trying to get. I'm working on Brian Peacock from Locked On 49ers. I've had him on about 3 times.
Oh man,
I want to see if I can get Larry Krueger, and Brian Peacock on the same stream. That would be cool. I would be like a little kid in a candy store, like, oh my God.
Just sit back and let those two go at it. Right?
Yeah, they're so intelligent. Larry is sneaky good because he was a scout. Like, you don't realize how much he knows about football. I have him on sometimes, and like I don't even read the chat, and I feel bad because he's just like da 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 da. He just knows so much. So
he does. He had a great story. We talked a little bit about the Trent Williams tipping, and he said he caught somebody tipping in the CFL where this wide receiver, when he come out of the huddle, if he strapped up his gloves, it was a pass. If they were open and flapping in the breeze, it was a run. He said if he strapped them twice, it was a pass to him. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
and I want to say something about that. I think Jesse got a lot of undeserved flack.
He did.
He didn't really say whether it affected things or not. He posed, like I posed a question about Kittle being expendable, and people like lose their mind. And the fact that people take personal shots at somebody and just, make fun of them or say their channel's crap or their content's crap, like, guys, it's not really that serious. It's sports. So I love Jesse. I think he's a great guy.
He had a grip. No, I think part of it was people like, some people thought like, oh, if Jesse says it, then like all of a sudden our competition is going to find out, like they didn't know about it already. Like these pro scouts and GMs didn't, and defensive coordinators didn't figure this out long before Jesse did. Of course they did.
I think there is some effect that it can have, but like Trent Williams says, there's like 50 different runs you can do off of.
Well, now we can use it to our advantage. Now we can have him pull his leg back and run the ball, or line up square and pass. So now we can use it to our advantage even.
Sentinel made a good point. He says the amount of crap Jesse gets pisses me off. Belichick made a career figuring little things out. People coming at him are stupid hacks. Yeah, I totally agree. And I just think it's funny that like people are content creators who have a good following who shouldn't even be talking shit or talking crap about him. Just worry about your own deal. Why do you have to take a side jab at somebody? Like, don't even say it.
Well, especially like Jesse and I have had we've had some beefs, I'll be honest. And we weren't getting along. And this kind of brought us back together because I was like, hey, dude, obviously we don't get along, but hey, I want you to know I think you're right on this. I think you're right to call it out. And, and like we've done so many shows, like what's wrong with the offense? What's wrong with the offense? Is it Jimmy? Is it McGee? Is it the fumbles, the penalties, all the normal stuff? And I'm like, all this time, this is probably part of it. I don't think it's a huge deal, but I don't think it's no deal either.
Like you said, Belichick made a career out of little things. My brother made a good point, and then when we'll get out of here, he said, because what's his name kept getting beat in the beginning of the game, Javarius Ward.
Yeah.
And I told my brother, my brother's like, Belichick, that would never happen to him. He'll take your best player out of the game. I said, that's the one thing about D'Amico. He's slow to adjust sometimes. Like, bro, like, come on. Like, it shouldn't take you 3 quarters to always figure out what's going on. People are like, well, he's feeling it out. And I'm like, you can't afford to feel it out with some teams. You might be down in like a 23-21 nothing hole. Like,
in the half.
That's my only.
You might shut him out in the second half, and it might not be enough, right?
Right. Yeah. That's my only beef with D'Amico. Sometimes he's a little slow to the draw when it comes to adjusting. And when he does make adjustments, for the most part, they've been really good. So thank you, everybody, for coming through. We're going to get out of here. I'm going to go eat some dinner. I already iced my knee, so I'm just going to go rest it. But till next Wednesday, everybody, stay safe and healthy. Enjoy your Turkey Day or whatever you do for your beliefs. And I'll see you guys Friday with a Mean the Dream, hopefully, if I'm feeling good. And I'll see you guys next Wednesday with me and Ted, same time, 6:30 Eastern time, 3:30 Pacific time. Take care, everyone.